You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Right, Chris.
All right. Good evening, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good night, goodbye. Hello. How are you? This is OTID TV from Leicester Till I Die. We may be losing our manager. You're not losing me yet. And I know what you're saying. Damn blast and bugger it. But no, I am still here. How are you? Thank you for joining us. If you've joined us on the watch along, thank you very much. And I apologize. Can you hear that squeaking? I tried oiling it earlier. I was doing a radio interview earlier with G4, and I soaked it in WD-40, and it is still creaking. That said, of course, it might not be the chair. It might actually be me. So we will find out as the night goes on. If you are watching live, thank you very much. Please do get in and join in with the chat. We will be going through a list of managers. So if you're talking about one of the managers that we haven't got to yet, or one that we've already spoken about, we probably won't bring you, or discuss your point. So please try and keep on point if you can, and keep up with the managers that we are going to be looking. That doesn't obviously affect you if you are listening via your favourite podcast platform, courtesy of TalkSport Fan Network. We will be playing catch up on there as well. So thank you for lending me your ears if you are. I'm just awaiting my co-host, so let's just go through a few chats here. We did have a few gremlins when we started, and that gremlin is called Craig. Apparently his wife fed him some water after midnight last night, and he's taken him until now to come back to normal. In fact, just looking, no, he's not back to normal yet. So Mike is in. Hi Mike, how are you doing? I hope we'll never know. You hope I'm something. I wouldn't call Dave a gremlin. It's not Dave today, it's Craig. I've called Dave a lot worse, and to his face. Matthew is in from up the Clarets in all departments. We should have actually, I do apologise if you have tuned in, which I doubt you have, but you may have tuned in today for the two fans down the pub. But obviously with everything going on at Leicester, didn't know whether everything could be confirmed or it'd still be rumours or whatever. So that will be back next Tuesday, which is why we're doing this tonight. I know who he would want. He's friend. Did you know, Matthew? He may not have told you. He's friends with Carlos Corberan. Boom. Okay, thank you, Mike. It's all set up for the two, but appreciate it, mate. Kyle is in. Hi, Kyle. How you doing? It's been a while. Nice to see you. Don't understand why he's gone to Chelsea. Well, I won't tell you what if you follow me on socials, LTID TV, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Facebook, you'll know what I think. Nate is in. Hello, Nate. How are you? Disappointed he's leaving, but we move on. And Rabbit Man, good evening, sir. Hopefully we're having I think you are keeping Kieran McKenna. He's certainly not on our list anyway. Who is on the list? Well, I'll tell you. One gentleman that is on the list is this gentleman. Hello, sir.
Hello, Chris. How you doing? I've got a different setup today, so there's a camera somewhere else. I've got no idea what the hell's going on. So you just bear with me, everyone, and maybe we'll get it to work at some point.
Pardon?
I've worked with you long enough to know you, Chris.
You have. That's a very nice shot of your cupboard behind. That's it.
Thank you.
You're filling it up now. How you? I mean, look. Wow. Welcome back to the Premier League.
I mean, it's madness, isn't it? I mean, I thought, we were going to just nicely coast in to the Premier League, and the worst thing that would happen would be that we'd have a points deduction, and lo and behold, now we're searching for a new manager again.
I mean, it looks like it's done. 6 hours ago, Fabrizio said, well, let me think I can bring this up, actually, what Fabrizio said. If I do this, and where is it? This. And then I do that. There we go. Fabrizio says, as in his own inimitable style, Chelsea have agreed to appoint Enzo Maresca as their head coach. Here we go. It's all about whether it's a 2-year plus a 1-year extension, a 3-year or a 5-year. What this does beyond anything else, and I'm going to get me wrong, I think, it'd be silly to turn it down because of the money, basically. When you look at what he can earn, and even if he does a crap job and they sack him, he'll still have the money. And, that is basically what Nigel Pearson said when he went to Watford. He knew he was getting what he was getting into, but he knew if it went wrong, he'd get a good pay packet. He was very honest about that afterwards. Why does a club sack somebody with the experience of Maurizio Pochettino and take somebody on with the experience of Enzo Maresca?
I'm going to say it's probably a club who is run by people who don't know what the hell they're doing, to be honest. I mean, I would think the 3 form teams towards the end of the season, the Premier League season, Man City, Crystal Palace, Chelsea, the 3 form teams who looked like they were slowly getting it together. Obviously Man City were there whole season, but Palace had done a great job over the last 6 to 8 games. Chelsea likewise snuck into a European spot. It looked like it was all starting to come together. People were playing for him. He got a formation sorted. So what do you do if you're the head of that club? You throw him out and you start again with someone fresh because you like the way that they play football, or you like the way that Poch plays football. Not Poch, sorry, Pep. That's it. That's the only thing they want to be Man City. They want to play like Man City. No doubt, over the next few seasons, maybe the blue shirts will get a little bit lighter. Who knows? Maybe that's what they're trying to do. But for me, it stinks every way round whatsoever. I'm really disappointed in Maresca, to be honest, for doing it after. And this is where your words come back to haunt you. You talk about, I would only choose a team where there was a proper project. I bought into it. I get on great with the owners, blah, blah, blah. They give me everything. All of this bullshit. And then as soon as one of the big 6 comes fluttering their eyelashes, oh, Chelsea. Yeah, I'm off. The only thing, and this is the only thing I will give him any credit for, if it's a reason, is that there's talk today that we may be getting the biggest points deduction in Premier League history, anywhere between 12 and 6. So it could be as many as 12. And it could be that he thinks if we get 12, there's absolutely no way I can keep a team up starting on minus 12, and it's going to damage my reputation, and then I've got, if we go down, do I get another opportunity? That's the only little thing I will give him if that's part of the reason. Everything else is just crap.
But what's his reputation? His reputation is based on the fact that he worked with Pep.
Yeah, but he's got a reputation good enough now to get the Chelsea job. That's what I mean. All I'm saying is they may not come a calling.
And I do totally 100% accept that. And as I said before, it's like when they come asking for the England job, or when one of the top 6 come knocking on the door. When do you know that opportunity is going to come again? That's why Potter went to Chelsea. He had no idea. If De Zerbi, it was all brilliant in Europe and everything. This season, not gone so well. Somehow he's still being linked, but he's been sacked, or he's left through mutual consent. So you have to take these things while your stock is at the top. The thing with, though, if he'd stayed at Leicester, yes, okay, let's say if we get a -12, I'm sure we will absolutely. I mean, I don't know how you can get -12 for what we did when you only get 10 for going out of business. But hey ho, who's ever understood FA rules? But if we did get relegated, he's got what could I do? It's a win-win for him, isn't it? If he keeps us up, wow. If he takes us down, but we go down fighting, wow again, because he can just turn around and go, well, come on, guys, I didn't have a chance, did I?
It depends how well we do. If we get walloped every week, like a la Burnley or Sheffield United, I don't think we will. But if we did, then then he's got nothing to fall back on. I just think, from Chelsea's point of view, I think it's just ridiculous. It's laughable. It makes them a laughing stock. And from Leicester's point of view, the people at the top of that club must be wondering what the hell they've done. They've kicked a black cat somewhere, or done something that the number of things that happen to go wrong. That we're being let down again by another manager. It's pretty poor.
If you actually go on to my YouTube account, Leicester Till I Die TV1. You'll see there's a show I've just put up. It's about 12 minutes long, but it's this one. Who's next for Leicester? No, it's not. It's the wrong one. It's that one. Leicester Till I Die TV on Talk Sport. I was on the social on Talk Sport discussing Enzo, and you can't see it there. So let me just take the banner down as well. There's too many buttons to press. There we go. I was talking to Darren Ambrose and Stephen Corker. And if you listen to the start of that is exactly what they said, which is Chelsea had just started to turn it around. But Poch, I believe, wanted control. He wanted to say who was coming in, who wasn't going in. Enzo is more of a coach. He doesn't particularly want to manage. He just wants to coach. But did he not say to Leicester that he wanted more control at Leicester?
Yeah, that's what we were led to believe. Maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe he just wanted to be kept more informed of what was going on, and he's quite happy to work with what he's got. But I mean, I'd love to see what's going to happen now. I mean, Leicester players, a lot of them must be devastated, and feel really let down. Their futures are hanging in the balance. Some of them now. Vestergaard was about to get a new contract. Indeed, he looked like he got a new contract. A new manager may not fancy them. There's every chance with Vestergaard, a new manager won't fancy him unless you're bringing in someone who's going to play identical football. And I think there's one person on the list who plays exactly the same as Maresca. So we'll come to that later.
Yeah.
And it's someone I don't think we've got a cat in hell's chance of getting. But so they must be sitting at home wondering now, again, what the hell's happening? Where's my place in this thing? Yeah. So it could have a knock-on effect of players who would have stayed, who may now think, actually, I might as well have a go. Might as well try my luck somewhere else as well now. Yeah. So I really, really disappointing all round. And I think, I know a lot of fans were not a fan of Maresca, and they were probably quite pleased that he's going to go. But the problem is you don't know what you're going to get. And at this point, going into a Premier League season with a points deduction, you need stability.
You do. I always say, be careful what you wish for. And I always remember, because I lived in Blackburn or Burnley at the time, and Blackburn Rovers had just been bought out by the Venkis from India, and they had Sam Allardyce in. and the fans didn't like Sam Allardyce. So the Venkies, in an effort, and I've probably told this story loads of times, but in an effort to please the fans, they sacked Allardyce and put Steve Keane, who was his assistant, in charge, and they ended up in the 3rd tier. Yeah. So you have to be careful what you wish for. I mean, I've put up on here, and I'm sorry, if he goes, he goes. I don't give a shit about him, really. I think he's a weasel. Don't say all this bollocks about we're getting the Band of Brothers back, and we're a team and all this, and then you walk out within 5 minutes. And I've put on my social media with that post, Betty's looking forward to working with £60 million Wesley Fofana. Oops. We can only hope he suffers the same fate, and I hope he does. I hope he walks out on the first training session, trips over, breaks his leg, and can't get to any of the matches again.
And I know, I mean, we don't really care what Chelsea players think, but what's he going to do? Is he going to turn, Reece James into a holding midfielder like he's done with Pereira? Yeah. Because if he doesn't do that, then Reece James won't be told to go bombing up the wing like he does at the minute. So all of these things. So there's players at the other end who are going to be wondering, what's this doing for me? It's not good.
They must have loved. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know. We haven't had Poch at the club and all this, that, and the other. But they must be looking and thinking, as a player, that manager was fantastic. Now, he's not left to go to another job. He's not left because Real Madrid have come knocking, and there's always bigger teams. Or bigger jobs. And they must be thinking, what the hell's going on at this club?
Yeah. I mean, those who have been there a long time are probably used to it. But this is a fairly young group, and a fairly young group, again, needs stability. They need to be, it's like a family thing, isn't it? And if you got a new dad every 2 years, then your family unit is going to suffer.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think if he leaves, Andrew, because I was wondering who he would come in for, but I think if he leaves, it would be an agreement that he doesn't come back for any players. I think you've got to put that into.
Interestingly enough, he's already been linked with that he'd like to get in the Burnley goalkeeper, who couldn't keep his place in the Burnley team, but.
Well, the manager's got him relegated and he's off to Bayern Munich. So
I mean, what is going on in football? I mean, maybe that's what Maresca should be thinking of. If he gets us relegated, he may get the Real Madrid job when Ancelotti goes.
Yes, but and the thing is, you never know. Chelsea may, and I know it's a bit of an impossibility, but they may just get a points deduction themselves. I doubt it though. But apparently. Breaking news. I don't know. So I'm just getting this up here on Sky. But apparently they're saying that Enzo already apparently has his next job lined up. Uncle Fester in the Christmas pantomime in 2024. Because nice. A, that's what he looks like, and B, that's probably when he'll be looking for another job.
Yeah. I mean,
do I sound bitter here? Do I sound bitter?
It's not like you as well, Chris.
Oh, no. Look, I like I said the other day, and I was quite calm when I did it with Mike. I think it was talking when he was obviously first all broke. I get it because, like I say, if it's a job like Potter going to Chelsea, if you don't go when they come in for you, you don't know in this industry. I mean, look at Brendan Rodgers. Came to us a couple of seasons, has been linked with Arsenal, Man United, I think even Barcelona or Madrid, one of them. And now he ended up back at Celtic. So if you don't take these opportunities when you are hot, if you like, you can end up risking it, can't you?
You can.
But look, everybody and his dog's been linked. So what I've done is Leicester Mercury, as in Leicestershire Live, put their 8 managers we should look at. I went onto the site, onto Sky Bet, and looked at the sort of the front runners. There's a couple of ones that we haven't got a cat in hell's chance of getting that I've just added on at the end, and then you've come in with a couple as well that aren't on the list that you might like to see arrive. But I have to say, because we are going to be talking odds, these were the odds that were correct at 11 o'clock this morning when I did all this. So they may have changed now. But these were the odds, as I say, at 11 o'clock this morning. And please, if you do gamble and if you do have a bet, I do have to say this, when the fun stops, stop. Otherwise, I get smack bottom. We're talking odds, and I don't say that. Mike says football is strange. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Mike. If it wasn't strange, you never know. We might have seen Wales at the Euros. Whoops, sorry, shouldn't have said that out loud, Mike. Sorry.
I noticed, Chris. Will you be explaining your rating system as well?
Yes, basically there are ticks and crosses. The more ticks they get, the more that I would like to see them at the club. The crosses.
Yeah, folks who are watching. I've previously got to see this document.
Oh, he's printed it off. He's printed it off. Oh my God.
I'm very worried. Yeah, I printed it to make some notes of my own.
Right. No, I will be discussing it, and I've got their Wikipedia pages up and what have you.
Excellent.
I have already fallen out with my son and Luke from Leicester City Down Under, who does the shows with us.
Yeah.
We had choice words earlier. In fairness, he was very sad that Enzo's gone because he thinks if Enzo had stayed, he'd have got us top 10. I did say that I would have a pint of whatever he was drinking, please. But no, fair play to him. My son said I was mad. But yes, the more ticks, the more I think I would like to see.
Was he saying that you're mad because of the person that you've given the most ticks to?
Yes. He just owned me when I told him that. But he kind of, when I explained it, kind of understood. So, and the more crosses, then obviously I want them less.
Yeah.
So could be interesting. So like I say, we will be doing the quotes and where they are exactly. We're going to do them in alphabetical order for the surname. Although don't take my word for that, because I could have put them in a different order. Who knows? Hopefully they'll be in alphabetical order. We'll make a start, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, here we go. John said, "Is there more crosses than ticks?" It's probably kind of bit between equal, isn't it? I'm guessing.
Yeah, it is pretty equal.
Yes,
it's pretty equal.
I've tried to be fair, and I've tried to include sort of whether I think they could actually come, which is the first thing, and obviously there's other factors as well. But let's start. And the first one is Michael Carrick. Now then, obviously currently at Middlesbrough, as you can see there, he's 42 years old. He's 16-1, but there is a bunch of them that are on 16-1, so don't get too excited about that. Not for me. Do you want me to go through my choices first, or?
Yeah. No, you go through and explain why you've given him Simon Cowell's red buzzer.
Well, I wish I'd got that now already. Look, for me, everybody was going mad about him last season. He has got. He's had two. He hasn't actually had 2 full seasons as a manager. And what you will see as I am going through the choices here is what the sort of manager I think we need. We are going to go up into a situation here where we are in the Premier League, but like you say, we could have anything between 6 and 12 points docked. So whoever comes in, it's going to be a job. But can you imagine somebody coming in and keeping us up? They would be making a huge name for themselves. So I don't think it's a job that many managers would turn down. Obviously, Jose Mourinho probably. But what has Carrick done? What has he done? He had a very good season at Middlesbrough the season before last. When he took them over, and he didn't have the full season, and he got them up into the playoffs, or nearly into the playoffs. I think they missed out on goal difference, didn't they? And then last season, it was a very up and down season for them. And I just don't think he's got the experience that we will need next season. So for me, he's a no.
Yeah, I think when I'm talking through these, I think we probably need to bear in mind the squads that they have to work with, the talent that they have to work with. You know, so managers will have potentially a slow start as they're getting players in at the end of the transfer window, then looking at what they do through the main body of the season, and then if they tail off a little bit, it could be to do with the fact that their squad is a little bit thin and key injuries and suspensions have hurt them. So try and bear that in mind, I think. But it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because do you want someone who's going to excite you based on the brand of football that they like to play, excite you as a manager on the touchline who's actually going to get... We all loved Maresca on the touchline. I think that sort of complete antithesis of what Brendan was like.
Yeah.
So you could see that enthusiasm. And is that something that we think, that this club or these players want? And therefore, does that come into it as well? Are we happy with somebody like a Carrick who's not particularly enthusiastic on the sideline? For me, he's a middle of the road manager who may well go on to do some great things, but I'm quite happy for him to try and learn his trade in Middlesbrough than come to us, to be honest.
Like you say, we take the risk, and this is the thing. Do we do a Martin O'Neill and say, right, we're going to get somebody in that's young but exciting and see what they can do? Or do we go for like a Brendan Rodgers that had him when we brought him in fairness, let's be honest, we were all excited about it, weren't we? And he'd been there, seen it, got the t-shirt, if you like, or even Ranieri. Yes, he'd never won anything, but as we said, if he got us to in the top 5, we'd be happy. Obviously, he did better than that. It's that sort of gamble that we have to take. And I just think with the minus points and the situation we're in, I just think we need somebody with a little bit more experience. And I know what you do, and do know what you're saying about the squad, but then you will have managers that haven't got a very good squad, but have done wonders with it.
Yes, yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a fair point. What I would hope that the club are doing are not second guessing managers and saying, well, there's no way that he would be interested, so let's not even talk to them, because you never know. At the time, there's probably managers out there, particularly foreign managers, who are looking for an opportunity to prove themselves in the Premier League, who are not going to get the top jobs. They're not going to walk into the top jobs necessarily. Those who have done it in, let's say outside of the top 5 leagues.
I think I know who you're referring to here, but
but there's not just him. There's a couple on your list here as well, who've done well abroad, who would be potentially interested. But what I would hope is that the club don't second guess that. And, and I know you've towards the end, there's some bigger names that you've just put across through, but I wouldn't think they should be counting anyone out just because they think they wouldn't be. No, if there's a big name there, a lot of us wouldn't have thought we would have got Brendan Rodgers on.
No, exactly.
Yeah. And so, if they identify the right person, they should go for him anyway. And if he turns us down, he turns us down.
Yes, I did read earlier. Of course, we could get upwards of 10 million euros, so £8.5–9 million compensation. And I did read somewhere, and I can't remember which particular site it's on because I'm checking every site on his dog. Well, let's just say every reputable site, not this sportsworld.net and all these. And it did say that Leicester are prepared, because obviously if we get that 10 million in and then get a manager in that's not working, that helps with our PSR because it will come in before the end of June, and we'll get.
I'm not sure if it's me or whether it's Chris.
One of us, I think it was me, to be honest with you. We've got funny weather down here.
I was just about to go into waffle mode, so well done for coming back.
You may have to. I'm just looking at the signal here, and it's looking a little bit iffy. We're back.
And just as he says that, we're back. Unless you're doing something really, really clever and just you've frozen yourself on purpose, Chris. And if you have, I'll be very, very impressed on that. But it'd be interesting to see anybody who's watching to put their own comments in, whether it's about managers that we're talking about, or whether you've got somebody who's totally left field that we should be considering as well, because everybody will have an opinion, and some of those opinions may be right. And to be honest, I've heard a few names thrown around at the minute that I'm not particularly impressed with, but as I say, everybody's got an opinion. So talking of opinions,
yes, it went completely then. I don't know what is happening here, but
don't worry, because I salvaged it.
You were. Well, I did put a note in the chat, but it didn't go through because my internet was down.
No, that's fine. To be honest, we're in the middle of a vote as to whether we want you to carry on.
You want me to follow, go and do Chelsea till I die? Right. But no, what I was going to say was that they are prepared, apparently, the club, to pay, even if it doesn't help. We lose that money towards PSR to get the right manager. So fingers crossed. So we're pretty much agreed on that one, that Michael Carrick is not for us at this stage.
Yeah.
And we have to sort of cancel that. Now then, who is up next, he says? Somebody that I can never pronounce the name. But here we go. Marty, exactly. Marty. Not Amarty, because he could be on the way to Celtic. But Amarty. Marty Cifuentes. That's not bad, is it? I'll have you laugh at me and my pronunciation of these foreign words. I was speaking to a gentleman from G4. I don't know if remember them, the band.
Yeah.
And a lot of their singles, because of the sort of music they do, is Italian. And he said I did very well with the Italian pronunciation earlier. So, yeah. Well. Sorry, just I'd get that in. 41 he is. He's at QPR now, so we'd have to pay 9-1. And he's got one green tick off me. Now, let's have a look and see what he's doing. Queen's Park Rangers, obviously, since earlier at the start of the season. He's done sort of Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Sweden before. I think he's got potential. That's why I'm giving him one tick. I mean, it's very awkward because we only really see these men. I mean, if you look at Carrick, they beat us twice, so technically he should be top of the list. But I did think he did a very good job. Again, turning a club round, and this is probably what we're going to be next season. Turning a club round that was dead and buried.
Yeah.
And he didn't come in and take a sleeping giant. He didn't come in and, it wasn't sort of, let's say, Leeds who were dropped down the table and he came in. This was QPR who were on their knees, and the fact that he saved them and got them quite secure at the end of the season did impress me.
I went through all these managers and looked at their preferred formations as well. Because we do really need someone who's going to play a brand of football that is similar to what we've played before. Otherwise, you're going to have players who are just not happy. And I know you get that at every club, but it could really affect things if we're having to change formation quite a lot. Carrick is pretty much a 4-2-3-1 guy, so he likes his two defensive mids. Marty Cifuentes is a proper 4-3-3 guy, pretty much like our good friend Maresca. Whether he manages to have an inverted fullback, I'm not sure. But I went on Transfer Market to try and find this information about their preferred ways of playing, and Cifuentes throughout his career has been classed as a 4-3-3 attacking. And I say that because there is someone else on the list who's got a 4-3-3, but are known as a defensive one. I like this guy, I must admit. Looking back, and you look at his CV, it's not fantastic, but it's pretty solid. And every time he's moved, he's been poached. He's been targeted. He's been targeted by a bigger club or a different club who's wanted him. He's got some European experience behind him. What I liked about what he seemed to be doing at QPR is bonding that team together. That was a team that at the end of the season was greater than the sum of its parts, because he's got them all playing as a unit, and he got them playing attacking football. Anybody, I'm sure the majority of us watched them take Leeds apart in that game. And for me, I think he's definitely worth at least a tick and one to have on a short list. If you're going to take a little bit of a gamble, he would be higher up my list of gambles.
Yes. Yeah. Right. I gave one tick to this gentleman. What are you giving him?
Yeah, no, I'd give that the same.
The same.
What's the maximum number of ticks you're giving, though, Chris?
I've only gone up to 3.
I know you have, but does that mean he's the guy, or does that mean you could have given up to 5 and he reaches 3?
I think you'll see as we go through. You give as many as you want. I've gone 3 below and 3 above, but how many for each? I've just got to say that John said no thanks to Michael Carrick, and Mike said really like Carrick, but feel his slight inexperience, as slight tactical naivety could cost him in the Premier League. Next year will be his year to make the move. Let's just have a look. Like I say, guys, if you're going to sort of start naming names, I'm not going to read them out because we're going to be coming to most of them anyway. So there's no point putting names in. JB, JB said that Fab's just tweeted compensation is 10 million all in. Well, I don't know which one you're looking at because I'm looking on his Twitter account, and the last thing he posted. Let me just have a look before I say no. Is that fact? I do apologise, JB. Chelsea are about to complete the agreement with Leicester for Enzo Maresca. It will cost around 10 million euros. Club set to also agree on the fee for the staff. Deal to be signed in the next days. If all done between Maresca and LCFC on deal until 2029, so he has got a 5-year deal for what it's worth, plus an option as reported today. Now, one good thing, and I was going to say, sorry, I've got YouTube user here saying Maresca hasn't gone yet. Well, YouTube user, before you type that out, things come back and bite you on the bum because according to February, yes, he has gone. And look, we're a channel. What do you expect us to do? We're a Leicester channel. Are you that stupid that you think that we're just going to sit there and go, yeah, we won't talk about it? Yeah, no, it's nothing, let's not worry about it. Of course we're going to fucking talk about it, idiot. What do you expect? Oh, my God. There's some people that have got the brains they were born with.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to say is that while you were off putting another 50p in your meter, I did mention to people if they'd got any ideas of their own, that they should put them in the comments.
Okay, sorry. I apologize.
Just in case they were different of people that were not on the list and a bit of a left field one that we hadn't thought of. So now you've taken your ball home again, haven't you? You say every time I say something that you don't like, you just go and freeze. I don't know. Anyway, you keep them coming. Absolutely flood the comments box with random names of managers that you'd like to see, just to see how annoyed he can get.
Very annoyed I can get. I'm getting fucking annoyed with this internet. It's honestly, this is going to happen a lot during this show, I think. So bear with me. Like I say, I know you will waffle on, but the good thing though, let me just say that, okay, if this is done, and if it's all agreed, there's no reason why you can't piss off in the next couple of days. That's good for us because the window doesn't open till next Friday. Yeah. We've done it early, so we can. And they're not going to have been sat on their hands. This has been going on now for a week. They're going to have a list of people ready, aren't they?
They are. And I hope they invoice Chelsea for all the costs of taking him to Monaco.
Yes.
You know, you come over here, treating us like that. You take everything that we give you in Monaco. We treat you like a king, and then you walk out the next day. Stuff you.
This is what gets me, and this is why everybody says well, he's done well for us. He got us promoted last season. You or me could have got us promoted with that squad.
We'd have probably got it done earlier, Chris. To be honest.
Yeah, let's be honest with you. No, I mean, don't get me. So he is going to be a good manager, but he's just not this messiah. And this is what I was saying to Luke earlier. He's gone. So what? Whoever
not the
comes in,
Messiah. He's a very greedy boy.
exactly, very greedy boy indeed. But the thing is, whoever comes in, it's only ever going to. We've got to accept it's only ever going to be a stepping stone, isn't it?
It is, yeah. What's Claude Puel doing?
Well, who knows? Who knows? You know.
Right. Anyway, I think we both agreed that we quite like this guy.
We do. Now, Steve Cooper. Now, people are gonna hate me for what, apart from YouTube user. And yeah, I've supported City since '63, and I've also seen the spike given to those that leave. Please don't be rude. I'm not being rude. I'm just saying you came on and had a go at me, YouTube user. So you can go. I tell you what, let's not mess about.
Everyone's entitled to opinion, Chris.
Yeah.
Come on,
well,
let's
no,
get back
he's
on
not.
track.
No. He's
Let's
not,
get back
no.
on track.
He's been banned. I can't be doing with arseholes like that. John said, "Don't swear." This guy, he got Nottingham Forest promoted. You could argue about the way that it happened, etc., etc. But he did keep Forest in the league. And I think he would have kept them up this season as well. And this is what we need. Somebody that will keep us up. I'm sorry, Luke. We're not going to get to the point where we're going to be in the top half of the table this season. Like I say, I will take a pint of whatever you're drinking if that's what was going to happen. We want somebody that the next manager, his job has got to be to keep us there. And it might take us a couple of years to get back on track. And then we can look at the manager that might want to take, or be able to take us into the top half. It's all about keeping us in. And I know people might be saying, well, look at the Forest link. Look at Wes Morgan. He was, Forest manager, yet we ended a Forest player, but we ended up loving him. So don't give me any of this like, well, it's Forest or it's Coventry or anything like that. This guy would do us a good job, and that's why I've given him 2 ticks.
And the case for the promotion.
I rest the case for the defence.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't argue with a lot of what you've said there, Chris. As much as I'd like to, you know me. And yeah, a steady hand. I would differ slightly, and I can understand the point of view of we just need somebody to keep us up. I get that, but I think that's a dangerous way of thinking about it, because you can get somebody to keep you up, but that person could also set you back 3 or 4 seasons based on the type of football that you're going to play. And again, we've had lots of conversations throughout the championship season about, would you rather be up and down, having a good go at it, or do you just want to tread water? And you could end up with a manager who allows you to tread water and finish 16th every season. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. As a Leicester fan, do I want that? I don't know if I do, and to be honest. And that's my only thing against one of these steady eddies would be that the players that you've got are not necessarily suited to the way that they want to set up. And therefore, are we going to lose those players and bring in ones who are a little bit more pragmatic? I don't know. All of this is conjecture. All of it is. Yeah. But that would be my only concern about getting someone just to keep you up.
So you're saying then that you'd sooner take the risk about going back down again, if as long as we play the same style of football. And I do get what you're saying, because every time
not necessarily the same style. What I'm saying is an evolution, because we all know that we have to be a little bit more pragmatic. We have to be a little bit more flexible. Yeah. What I'm saying is, for instance, you could say, right, let's get Sam Allardyce in, and there's every chance that it'll keep us up. But how far back is that going to put you in terms of the development of the team and its long-term strategies? And that's the dangerous little thing for me, and that's the fine line that I think they have to tread in bringing someone in who can take this squad of players or this brand of football and develop it into something that is going to be progressive and not necessarily just treading water for the sake of it.
No, and in a couple of years' time, we might be back to 4-4-2. Who knows? I mean, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say at the start, are Chelsea after Enzo because of the Pep connection, but maybe that's why we went for him as much as anything. You know what I mean? So they're no different. But I just, why when we get a manager in, do we have to give them a 3-4 year contract?
Yeah.
Why can't we get a manager in and give them a rolling 1 year contract?
Yeah.
I'll tell you something, right? You've always got, I mean, look, we had a £10 million clause in Enzo's contract, 10 million euros. So they paid him and he went. You know what I mean? So contracts aren't worth the paper they're written on. We know that. And let's be honest with you, and this is why I'm saying, to be fair to Enzo, if he didn't take this job now, if in 12 months' time we were 20 points adrift or something like that, the fans would be calling for him to be sacked.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our fans are going to be thinking, look, a bit like Luke, no disrespect to him, going to be looking and thinking, well, hang on, we used to be top 5. We used to be challenging for Europe. Ain't going to happen for another 3 or 4 years minimum, that, is it? So
the other issue that I think, needs to be taken into consideration, and I would think and hope that the club are doing as well, is that Maresca was trying to put into place a style of football that went through the club. So it's not just about the first team. That style of play was being replicated all the way through. So you can get that transition of being able to bring players through the academy, through the system, so that they're ready to have a chance in the first team. And if you bring someone in to fundamentally change the way we play, then you're going to have to say, right, we do that across the board and all the youth groups and the age groups do the same. Or you have to say, right, we'll continue with all that behind the scenes, but we'll accept our first team just playing a totally different brand of football than the rest of the club in all its age groups. And I think that is another little thing that needs to be taken into account when you're looking about a longer term plan, a longer term strategy of how you want the club to develop, producing players that can play a modern style of football. And therefore they're the players who are going to be developed and allow you to sell one every year to go forward and maintain the levels that we want.
It is. The other thing, we're all trying to play like Manchester City, but they can afford to buy the players that can play like that.
Mm-hmm.
The players that, and we're not in that market of paying £40 million for a
and that's
player
why
anymore.
It's important that you have to develop your own. And if you throw that out, then I don't know where you've got to go. I would imagine our plan is to develop players, to go back 5-6 years, a decade or whatever, to unearth nuggets who can be developed by a manager who is capable of doing that, but also by bringing through players who are coming through our own academy system. Because you're right, we're never going to be in the same market to spend millions on players. So we have to produce our own. So you have to look at the manager. You either have a manager of the first team or you have a manager and coach who then puts that all the way through the rest of the club. Yeah.
So Steve Cooper, what are we giving him?
He's kind of a half a tick for me. I know you've been giving half, so
I have. Yes.
I mean, maybe what he would be steadier, and I would prefer him over your other steady option.
But you're sticking with a half, are you?
I'm going to stick with a half. Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's like you say, it's about opinions. Yours is wrong, but there we go. Right. Up next now, the bookie's favourite 9. God, I can't even speak now. 9-4 on to get the job. Carlos Corberan, 41 at West Brom. He is the favourite, ladies and gentlefolk. He has got a tick and a half off me. And I just have a look about him. I mean, he's done well at West Brom. He's been there since 2022. Got them into the playoffs this year. Got destroyed in the playoffs, let's be honest with you, by Southampton in the second game. Gave us a tough game, as we know. It was the famous Chowdhury hat trick of saves. But when you look at his managerial career, it's been pretty underwhelming. You know, Leeds United, he was there under Bielsa, wasn't he? Huddersfield Town, you know, Olympiacos, he didn't even stay a season there. And all right, he's done at West Brom, but again, is it underwhelming? Or I wouldn't be 100% disappointed if we took him on, because if you're talking about some of these other ones we might take, like Carrick, if you like. Carrick, I think, is too much of a risk. I don't think he is as much of a risk, if you like, you know. And he pretty much kept West Brom in 5th place for virtually the whole season. So yeah, he gets 1.5 from me. I wouldn't be upset if he was to come in.
Yeah, I mean, again, he likes this sort of 4-2-3-1 formation. They were one of the better teams to visit King Power this season, definitely. I got in trouble earlier on a Twitter X post that I put earlier when I called. I included Corberan in my statement that was basically telling the club to not settle for mediocrity.
Yeah,
and a West Brom fan took umbrage at me and said I need to do more research before I call him. I include him as being mediocre based on what he'd done with a very limited squad at West Brom, and yes, you know, he could well have taken Huddersfield into the Premier League if it weren't for some dodgy refereeing and VAR decisions against Forest.
I think we can say very dodgy refereeing.
Yeah. But again, yeah, I mean, he's almost like a risky, safe pair of hands. You know, if that makes sense, because of the brand of football that he plays. You know, again, I think they were pretty low in terms of the shots they faced, low in number of the goals that they conceded, chances given up. Well, I think they were pretty low as well. But with that comes the fact that they're not necessarily scoring enough goals at the other end, and I think that was their downfall in the end. Yes, they did play very well against us. So again, he fits into that mold of, you know, someone who, you know, might play pretty boring football, but may give you a decent chance of staying up. So, he's a 1 tick for me.
A 1 tick. I mean, I think you actually summed it up beautifully there. A safe risk, did you say?
Yeah.
That you described him. Yeah, like I say, Carrick for me, too much of a risk. This guy, I mean, he's 9-4 on favourite. He was sacked by Olympiacos. He was only there for 11 games. They lost 2. He got them through to the Europa group stage, then he lost 2, and then they sacked him because he got 2 defeats. What I like about him is, though, Huddersfield Town, his win rate was 37%, and at West Brom, his win rate has been 46%. And I think if you're looking at a man that's won more than they've lost, then that's a help. And his overall career total as a manager, 39% win rate, and that isn't bad. That isn't bad at all. No. You know. And I've got to say here, Mike says, I've waxed lyrical about him pre-West Brom. No waxing allowed, mate. No waxing allowed. Certainly not on camera. He does say Carlos is a massive favourite of mine. I like his style and his adaptability. He'd give him 3 ticks. So, yeah, I think he's the one that keeps being mentioned. And you know what I said earlier about that Leicester were prepared to pay a club to get somebody out of this was the gentleman concerned.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised you've only gone for 1, but there we go.
Yeah,
No, I'm not criticising you. I thought he might have been one of your favourites, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it just shows the lack of enthusiasm I've got for most of the names coming up. But but I know we have to be, even though I've said we shouldn't be really, we should be ambitious. We should go and get someone. That's great. The chances are that we won't get any of those top guys, so we are going to have to take a punt on someone.
We took a punt on Martin O'Neill, didn't we?
We did take a punt on Martin O'Neill, and then we've had a punt on quite a few others afterwards, and some have worked, some haven't.
Indeed. Alan Pardew's available, apparently.
Moving on.
Yes. Was he not on your list? I thought I saw him on
He's not on my list, no, but there's quite a few on the list, so we should probably...
All right. This is another one that's been getting a lot of shouts, but he's not very high up on the wage list. And I don't know if I said this or not, because my memory is not what it used to be. There'll be a lot of fans out there from these clubs, like West Bromwich Albion, who are feeling exactly how we felt a week ago when we heard that, we'd be leaked. So we are only doing what fans of other clubs are doing. So, we have to accept that we are upsetting a lot of people by saying, oh, we would quite like your manager, please, But it's the merry-go-round, isn't it? Unless we get somebody that's not working, that's what it's going to be. But look, the next one up is only 14-1, which surprised me, and that is Rob Edwards, 41 years old, Luton Town. Like I say, his odds are 14-1 to get the job. If I bring his details up here, managerial-wise, he has been at interim at Wolves, AFC Telford. He was England under-16 manager for a year, Forest Green Rovers, Watford, and, of course, now Luton. And he was very, very unlucky not to keep Luton up. And the reason that I've only given him a half tick, because I think again, if it's in green, it basically means I wouldn't be adverse to them coming. But I do know Luton have offered him an extension on his contract, according to the website today. So they obviously know that there's going to be. Well, look. Once it, now everybody knows that Enzo's going to Chelsea. They're all going to be sat there thinking, are they coming for us? And they're going to look at that list of betting favourites and what have you. McKenna obviously being given a new contract, and this guy looks like he's going to be given an extended contract, and he's earned it. He was very unlucky not to give Luton up. And let's be honest with you, what a fantastic story Luton Town had. But he did well for them. And I know I've only given him a half, but like I say, I wouldn't be adverse.
Yeah, I mean, we look at Kieran McKenna and the job that he's done. That just shows you that there is talent out there.
Yes.
Even if it's just coaches. I've written a few other names that I didn't mention to you earlier. Towards the end that are that style of candidate, shall we say? But Rob Edwards, if we're talking about a manager who has shaped not necessarily a silk purse into a sow's purse into a silk whatever.
Sow's here into a silk purse.
I have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah. Anyway, he's polished a turd. That's what he's done. To get promoted with the squad that he had in the first instance was a fantastic achievement.
Yes,
and then to do as well as he did. And what I liked about him was that he wasn't a manager last season with Luton who was like, right, we're just going to sit behind the ball and we're going to try and, hanker down and just close everything down and sneak some wins, sneak some points. He had a good go at it. He's probably the only manager since he left Everton to get a tune out of Ross Barkley and get him talked about being in the England team. So this is clearly a guy who can motivate players, and I think that's one of the good things I've seen about him as well, that he's got that collective. Again, another one who's managed to get them the greater than the sum of the parts and have a bloody good go. So I'm going to give him a 1.5, I think.
1.5. But I wouldn't. I actually, when I'm looking at this now, I'm starting to think maybe I was a little bit too too mean on my vote, but I just honestly think he's a sort of. I can see him staying at Luton. To be honest with you,
my only say, and this is going to be for a lot of them as well. Is this a person of the stature? Now we talked about Maresca. Just because he hadn't had the jobs doesn't mean he isn't a person of stature. I think we clearly realised very quickly that he is a person of stature, a person of learning, who is a student of the game and takes it all very seriously. And that's why I think Leicester went for him in the first place, and we're happy to basically hand over the club and say, go and put this right all the way through all the age groups. And that's the bit that I'm struggling with a little bit of any of these people of the stature that you would say, I trust you with this club. Not necessarily this team, but I trust you with this club.
Yes, yeah. No, 100%. And somebody actually went on one of my one of my videos on Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube after I'd sort of obviously, we'd done the show. And his comment was, I hope you're all happy now that he's leaving. You basically, he was saying we've moaned him out, if you like. I think if we'd gone round and given him 30,000 blowjobs after every game, I think he'd have still left, to be honest with you. I don't think whether we moaned or not would have made a difference to this move, But again, with Rob Edwards, look, 37.82 winning percentage over his managerial career. The lowest he was at Watford. But then again, we do know being sacked by Watford isn't really a blemish on your record, is it? So he's had 32% at Luton, and that's not bad to say. He's had them in the Premier League. They still got 32% over his time, 45% at Forest Green, and all right, you can say, well, it's only Forest Green, but that's the league they're in, and they were playing similar teams and with the squad he had. So you've gone 1.5 for him. I've gone half, and I'm feeling a bit mean, but I do think it's that fact that I think he'll stay at Luton. Urs Fisher. Now, I had no idea who this was. It was a name that came up on Leicestershire Live, and it was almost like they just added this one on because they needed to look like it was different to anything else that they'd copy and pasted. He's got 2 crosses for me. I've no idea why this guy is even on the list. His managerial career, Zurich, Thun, Basel, and he did okay, I guess, at Basel and Union Berlin now. At Basel, 102 games, 66% win percentage. Actually got the biggest win percentage of anybody we've seen so far at 53%. Yeah. I just don't know. I think of the fact of, for me, exactly. John's just said this, and I think this is why I've gone for 2 crosses. Who?
This is funny because I must admit I'd not heard of this guy until last night, and I was sitting chatting to Scott, who, as you know, runs his own YouTube channel and does a lot of FIFA, and he's aware of a lot more teams around Europe than I am. And without any prompting, he threw his name into the mix. Because of what he'd done at Berlin. Now, my understanding is that he'd got them over the past 2 seasons to their highest ever position in the Bundesliga. I think he'd got them into European football. I could be wrong on that. But in a club that's got a similar size to us, he'd done a remarkable job by the sounds of it over the past couple of seasons, and he just had a bad run at the start of this season, and they decided to pull the trigger. But I think
August 2023 he was voted Football Manager of the Year in Germany.
Yeah, so I think he'd done over the past 2 or 3 seasons. He'd done what people were saying was a phenomenal job with a bit of an underdog team. But, and it all comes around, doesn't it? A manager can have a bad start of the season and they get a little bit panicky. But I'd not heard of him. But as I say, Scott threw his name in without any prompt from me at all, based on what he'd done in Berlin.
Well, looking at it here, in his first season with the club, he led Union to a promotion from the Bundesliga 2 to the Bundesliga. after a third-place finish, where they beat Stuttgart in the playoffs. He signed a contract extension, keeping him at the club till 2023. He led Union to a seventh-place finish and qualifying for the inaugural Europa Conference League. He led Union the following season to a fifth-place finish, qualifying for the actual Europa League for the first time ever in their history. In September, he extended his contract again. Union Berlin finished fourth in the league to qualify for the Champions League group stage, to be their first participation in history. This season, he went 14 winless competitive matches in a row, which is why they decided to part company with him. I also, the big cross for me against this guy is his lack of the knowledge of the English game, because obviously he's never managed or played in England.
Yeah, I'm going to say that there's always going to be that against it. You know, there are other, there's other managers who have come in and done pretty well the first time that they come here. You can never tell, can you? I think those achievements are the best achievements of any manager who's come up on the list so far, I would argue, given the size of club that he was at. But that there is that unknown about him. But it would be an interesting appointment, I think.
It would. But do you not think it would be a bit like a Daka, but on the management side? Scores. I mean, was it the Austrian league we got Daka from? Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Scoring for fun in the Austrian league, can't hit a barn door. The English one.
I mean, it could be.
I think it's with extremes, but you know what I'm saying.
No, I know what you're saying. But you've also got somebody like Corberan, I think, who started his career, abroad. A few of these have started their career abroad with not necessarily big teams, and then they've been given a chance over here. Very often it is in the lower leagues. It is rare, you would say, yes, that anybody gets their first shot and it's the Premier League. So, yes, that would sort of go against him. But, from an experience point of view, and it's an interesting name to have on the list.
Yes.
And whether there's any truth in the matter, whether there have been any leaks. I haven't heard of any leaks other than the one about Corberan, where they're saying that people in the club are talking about him. But it looks, if that's the case, then I think it's good that they are spreading their net wider to have a look at someone who could come in with a lot more experience. Again,
it's all, the managers just need the chance, don't they?
Exactly. I mean, it could be that they think he's a little bit too old for it, and they want someone with a bit of a younger profile.
But again, I still go back to my thing that is, can we afford to take a risk, or do we need a safer pair of hands?
But you can't even say that a safe pair of hands is a risk, because one, he's coming into a new club. Two, you're going to have a points deduction. I think whatever appointment we make, it's a risk.
Yes. No, I take that. To me, let's say we'd Rodgers had left us, or left us, whatever, a season before he did, when we finished 8th, right?
Yeah.
This guy, if he came in, you'd be thinking, "Whoa, there, look at that." You know what I mean? Because we're in a different situation, and that's what I'm trying to get across: is whether they're the right manager for. Sometimes you can afford to take a risk, and sometimes I don't.
I fully get it, and I can understand why there are certain managers on this list who are attractive, if not facially.
Yes. John said he won't be running down the touchline. He will. We'll just have his Zimmer frame in front of him as he goes along. He's already been on the phone asking to borrow mine. I said, get your own. What are you giving him?
I'm going to give him a 1 tick.
Oh, he gets a tick. Oh, right. So that's the widest apart we've been. On that one. Right. I can't remember who's coming up. So let me have a quick glance and see who's coming up. Now this name came up earlier, and it probably wouldn't cost us a penny probably the one manager that we would get that wouldn't cost us a penny and is actually working, which you think is a bit strange. But of course, he happens to be working for our sister club, Oscar Garcia, 51. He's actually currently at OH Leuven. 9-1 his odds are on. I have to say, not for me. And I just, when I look at his managerial career, right? So this is from 2009. Oh no, I'm going to go from 2012 and be fair to him and just go to, not assistants or youth, just to managers. He had 1 year at Maccabi Tel Aviv. He had 1 year at Brighton and Hove Albion. He had half a year back at Maccabi Tel Aviv. He had half a year at Watford. But like I say, we'll allow that. He had 2 seasons at Red Bull Salzburg. He had 1 year at Saint Etienne, 1 year at Olympiacos, 1 year at Celta, about a year again at Reims, and he's been at OH Leuven. But he has saved OH Leuven from relegation, and he's got them to the joint highest, I think, that they've ever been in that league. So there's obviously some positives about him, but his win rate at Leuven, and that's what people I think are looking at it. I mean, like I say, he had 53 games at Brighton. Well, 43 at Tel Aviv, 65% win rate. That's good. 53 games at Brighton, but only 7 when he went back to Maccabi. 4 he had at Watford. 73 at Red Bull Salzburg. Excellent win percentage there, though, nearly 70%. 13 games at Saint Etienne. 12 games at Olympiacos. 38 at Celta. 51 at Reims. And obviously 29 at the moment at OH Leuven. He must like golf because he's collecting clubs, isn't he?
The point I made, his preferred formation is 3-4-1-2. Just quickly back on Urs Fischer, which would be music to a lot of people's ears. His preferred formation at most of his clubs is 3-5-2. He actually plays 2 up front.
Wow.
But yeah, Oscar Garcia.
Can I go back and give him 5 ticks then?
Yeah. my comment on exactly the same as you just said is he's been at a lot of clubs.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not staying at a club more than a year, there's something going on for me. Yeah. Now, that whether that's you annoy the people around the club, whether you fall out with players, whether you just don't like hanging around too long, I don't know. But he must average 12 to 14 months at any club. I'm not sure that we want that kind of... Yes, thanks, Doug.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that we need any more sort of uncertainty. I mean, he may well be in the best place for us in that he can stay at Leuven, he can prove himself over 2, 3, 4 seasons, and then further down the line, he's the next one in.
Yes,
but as of now, yeah. Not for me. I'm with you, John. Too many clubs. Yeah.
And you could argue that. Let's be honest with you, with Claudio Ranieri, but when you looked at Claudio, in fairness, it was always over a season. Yeah. He was always, when we first took on Ranieri, there was an Italian journalist that I did a bit with, and she said. She was like a psychology journalist or something like that. She said he only ever stays anywhere a maximum of 2 seasons. He goes in, has a great season with the players that are there and adapts them and works well. Then he brings his own players in and it all starts to go wrong. And yes, by God, was she not spot on? But with this guy, like I say, all right, Brighton 53 games after Maccabi 43, but 7 games at his second run at Maccabi, followed by 4 at Watford, even by Watford standards. That's quick. Yeah. 13 at Saint Etienne, June 17 to November 17, 12 at Olympiacos, January 18 to April 18. That to me it's red flags.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
I agree. My God, sorry, I'm going to have to. I'm trying to say something that you're going to disagree with. What are your thoughts on marks for him?
I'll give him a 1 cross.
Just a 1 cross. Oh, right. Okay. You're not being as well.
Oh, wait for it. Wait for it, Chris.
Yes, I am waiting for it because I just realised who's coming up next.
Yeah.
This is the one I fell out with my son over. And please bear with me when I pick this.
Let's all settle in and listen to Chris's reasoning for his multi-ticked preferred option.
Yes, this would be, I'm not going to lie, this would be my number 1 choice. So was that a pin I just heard drop then? David Moyes gets 3 ticks from me. I think this guy is just what we need. Now, I do take on board what you are saying about style of plays. He's going to come in and it is going to be a different style of play to what Enzo has been installing. But should future managers be forced to play the style of the manager that they're replacing? This guy, all right, he didn't have long at Manchester United. I think everybody would agree with that. We're not saying that he would have been able to, he would have done anything, but he just didn't get long enough. West Ham, the first time he went in on temporary contract, he kept them up. Then they got rid of him at the end of the season. Went away, came back to West Ham United, kept them up again. Got an extension, took them into Europe, won them a European trophy, has got them top half or thereabouts. Did all right as well when obviously when he was at Everton, kept them ticking over. I take on board what everybody's going to be saying, but I know Jake Cox, a West Ham fan, young lad. He absolutely can't stand him. He's so pleased that he's gone. But a lot of West Ham fans, when you hear them moaning, "Oh, you didn't play football the West Ham way." So fucking what? When you played the West Ham way, you were in the second tier. And for me, don't necessarily I'm not saying go out and give him a 5-year contract. Give him a 2-year contract to keep us up, keep us in. And I think he will do that. Okay, he may turn around and not play the players, the style that we want. But then again, there's a lot of fans weren't happy with Enzo's style anyway. And I'm not saying we should go back to, the title winning way we play, because that's out of fashion now. But we've got players that could come back, and we could use Christensen if we changed, the way we play at the back. He could fit in again. Samari, we don't know, under a different manager. We know we're quick to write these players off, but look at Vestergaard. Whoops, I went a bit mad there. Look at Vestergaard. Rubbish under one manager, fantastic under another. So that's why I've gone. I mean, what did he do last season? Do you know where he took them to?
I think, did they finish 9th?
Let's have a look. Table. West Ham. Yeah, they were 9th. They were 9th. They won 14, they lost 14, and they drew 10. If you were to be given 9, even without, let's forget the PSR, and let's forget the let's pretend we're just going in and it's going to be a normal season. Well, whatever's less than ever have a normal season, do we? But you know what I mean. And we said, right, we're going to give you 9th now. Would you take that? Yeah, I think you would do. And that's why I've gone for Moyes. He's not. I don't think he's a risk. I think he is a safe pair of hands. And just give him, like I say, a rolling 1-year contract or just a 2-year contract.
How many points? How many points clear of the bottom 3 were they?
Well, it was on 52. Luton went down with 26. But in fairness,
all the points, yeah.
Yeah, but in fairness, there were 3 awful teams this season.
Yeah.
I think somebody was saying the other day, their team went down on 40 odd points. So that I wouldn't read too much into that because it's Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United.
Well, this is, in an ideal world, which, I don't like breaking it to people, but we don't live in one. We would find out what the points deduction was, because you could bring in virtually any manager. And if we have a 12-point deduction or a 10-point deduction, it's going to be bloody difficult to stay up with that deduction.
Yes.
So if you brought somebody in like Moyes with a 10 points deduction, it's almost a waste, because there's very little chance of him keeping us up with a 10-point deduction. So how much further has the club gone? Nowhere. So you might as well have a manager who has a season with the players with a view to, if you can't keep us up with that, you can bring us straight back up. That's where I would think on it. But we don't know. We don't know whether we're going to have 10. We don't know whether we're going to have 6. What we do know is we're going to have some points deduction, and therefore whoever comes in is going to be up against it anyway. And is it a waste of a season having someone who you wouldn't necessarily want if you had to go back down to the Championship?
Yeah. If we do go back down, we can't. It would be disaster, wouldn't it? Because the EFL would be disaster.
You would hope that the club have learnt their lessons and they're running a bit of a better ship. From a fan's point of view, I'm sure most of us have absolutely loved it. Anybody who's been at the ground has loved it for everything. But I get it from a financial point of view. It's not good if you can't stay up there and get some money back into the club sustained over 3 or 4 years. I do get that.
I'm just thinking sort of, with the Premier League, then, like you say, in an ideal world, they'll tell us next week how many points, we'll appeal, and they'll tell us the week after what it's going to be. Whatever happens, we're going to have longer than Forest and Everton did. So we're going to have the majority of the season. That's the only silver lining, if you like. But if we go down, the EFL are sat there waiting, like the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, with a big net that they're going to put over our heads as soon as we go down and go, "Oi, come here, you owe us some money from last time you were down." It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
Like I say, certainly not long term, and I would never say Sam Allardyce or anybody like that, but I just think this guy could do. He's got them to a European Cup final. He's won a European Cup final, and I'm just going to let's have a look at what his stats are, shall we? I've got to go a long way down. His managerial stats: 42% win rate overall. His first time he played 31 games from November 17 to May 18. 31 games. It was only a 29% win rate. He won 9, drew 10, lost 12, but he kept them up, like I say. Then he went back in December 2019 and realised they'd made a mistake, and he's been there up until obviously just agreed to leave the end of this season. 231 games, won 103, lost 83, a 44.5% win ratio. Overall in his career as a manager, when he was at Preston, it was 47. Everton, it was 42. Even at Manchester United, he had a 52% win rate.
Yeah.
Real Sociedad, it went wrong for him as it did at Sunderland as well. But overall, 42% win rate. But not for you, obviously.
It's difficult to know whether wherever he goes next, his heart will be in it, would be my other thing. As to, he's taken so much stick. Does he want to go into another job where there's every chance, particularly if you're going into a job where the club have already got a points deduction, that you're going to get stick? Does he really want that? I'm not sure his heart would be in it unless he goes back to Preston. Or if I was Moyes, I'd be looking at, can I go back down 1 or 2 divisions and build a club up again, and really show what I'm worth and what I can do, because it's such a stressful thing. Going, if we all went into work every day knowing that most of the people there didn't want us there, and every time they step out, at a game, it must be devastating for a lot of these managers. But so for me, no, I'm not going to say throw him totally out, because I can take on board most of the stuff that you're saying. So I'll give him a tick. I won't give him an X.
You'll give him a 1. Fair enough. So basically, if it was to be him,
I get it. There's a lot of I get it. There's a lot of reasons why it makes sense, but for me personally, not really for me.
Well, my son's not talking to me now, and nor is Luke from Leicester City Down Under. And John, yes, he is 61. Believe it or not, he is 61. But like you say, any manager that comes in, unless you're Pep Guardiola or Klopp, I still don't understand this love for Klopp. He wasn't such that brilliant a manager. Sorry.
So go on, Chris. Finish up.
No. I forgot what I was going to say now. No manager goes into the club and are loved universally, are they? We had it with O'Neill. It's a manager's job. All we could do is say, how do you put up with it? We could just ask Steve Bruce, couldn't we?
Well, that's true.
Steve Bruce.
What I would also say is everybody who comes through Leicester City's doors, particularly since our current owners have been in place, have said what a special club it is.
Yes.
No one's walked away from here having a bad word really to say about the place, which means there's a culture at this club. And I'm not sure this man is someone who fits that culture.
No, that's fair enough. And when you got to look when, Vichai passed away and they had that the last game, how many ex-managers turned up?
Yeah.
All managers that he'd sacked, and they'd all turned up. Yeah. But Craig says there, and this is basically my thought, a tick for me, only for being a safe pair of hands.
Exactly why I've given him a tick. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I just think for me, I've given him 3 because he's experienced, he is a winner because he has won things, and he has kept this club, West Ham, up twice, if you like, But
for me, the next person we're going to bring up is almost someone who did not excite me. I'm preambling it before you reveal it. Does not really excite me at all. I never really got the clamour for him when people wanted him before. But I would say you could probably say that this guy is a safe pair of hands and more in keeping with the type of football that we want to play than David Moyes.
I agree. Graham Potter, as you can see there, his last club was Chelsea, which is why I put him in front of the Chelsea logo. Again, it's just come out today that Brighton are going to start talking to him. And I think he would probably go back, and it can work. Look at Nigel Pearson with us.
Yeah.
Like you say, I didn't get into this sort of clamour for he's going to be the next England manager. Oh, isn't he brilliant? As I was saying, come back when he's won something. And he still hasn't won anything. He didn't have long enough at Chelsea, and we offered him the job. But he obviously, and this is why he only gets 1 tick from me. Yes, I think he's a safe pair of hands. Yes, I think he could probably keep us up, to be honest with you. Let's be honest with you. If we finish 17th at the end of the next season, we'll all be happy, won't we? And I think that's achievable both for Moyes and for Graham Potter. But he turned us down when we approached him after Chelsea. Now, I accept he maybe wanted some time away. I think it was more that, well, hang on, if I take your job, I'm not going to be still getting me big, huge wage packet from Chelsea. And Chelsea were probably paying him more to not work for them than we would have been paying him to work for us. So I just don't know whether his commitment is right for us.
I think he made the wrong decision for me going to Chelsea, but for all the reasons that we've talked about before, when these opportunities come along, then you do grab them. For me, he never had the stature that is required to go into a top 6 club with all the egos that would be in the dressing room and all the expectation that there would be in the boardroom. He never struck me as a strong enough character who could command respect at that level. And for me, it just seemed a stupid appointment from Chelsea. For me, he's much more in line with Brighton, with Leicester, with that sort of quiet efficiency of going about your job, not bringing an ego. I don't think egos work very well at our club, to be honest.
No.
I think Maresca has an ego, but he's sort of backed it up with what he did on the pitch. So, yeah, I'm not overly excited. It would not surprise me if he went back to Brighton. But of all the people on this list, yes, probably safe pair of hands. Probably would keep us playing similar football that we've been accustomed to over the past 12 months. And therefore, I would give him 2 ticks.
2. Oh, you're going big. That's your biggest so far.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I particularly want him.
No. And looking at his hiya, Geordie, by the way, looking at his figures here, I'm going to take out, because he was at Östersund from 2011 to 2018. He played 204. Well, he didn't play. He managed them for 249 games. He had a win percentage of 51%, 127 games. He won 62. He lost 60. He drew. I'm going to take that out of the equation because it's Norway, if you like, and it's my channel. I can do what I want. When he was at Swansea, June 18 to May 19, he played 51 games there, 21 wins, 19 losses. So only just tipping the scale there, 41% win rate, he had 11 draws. At Brighton, 135 games. But at Brighton, he lost more than he won. He won 42, drew 46, lost 47, 31% win rate. And at Chelsea, obviously, we know, 31 games, 12 won, 8 drew, 11 lost, 38%. So even when he was this second coming at Brighton and everybody wanted him to be England manager, when you look at it, it wasn't, to my mind, that's not a good record. 135 games, but only 42 wins, less than draws and losses.
Yeah, I know. I think you're being a little bit harsh based on the fact that in previous conversations you've said you can only beat the teams that are in front of you. And with the squads that you've got, what he did do, he got them into European football, which is basically where he cemented his reputation and how he got the move over to the UK and he came to prominence anyway. I think what he's got is clearly a style of playing, a style of developing teams, but a style of football that requires time. And sometimes you don't always get it in football. And it would be if wherever he goes next, I would imagine he's going to be on a long contract, because part of the stipulation would be that I've got to develop a team again.
Yeah. Again, I wouldn't be, I'd be happy if we got him. I've given him 1 tick. A, I think he's going to go back to Brighton anyway. And B, turn us down once. We're not going to, I don't know why we go back to you. Somebody said turned us down twice. I'm not sure about that. But, and to me, I'm just thinking what his commitment. He's obviously happy doing his back garden and taking in the millions from Chelsea. As we know, these payoffs stop as soon as you get another job, doesn't it? So and the reason I'm not knocking what he did at Östersund, fantastic record. But obviously it's the English record we're looking at more, we will see. For me, I just think you've got somebody there. He would get the time at Brighton. Obviously he's been there before, so they know. He would get that time at Leicester, because we are a club that gives managers times. which is why I'm surprised Enzo's gone to Chelsea, because he's the manager that says he wants time to develop these things. He ain't going to get it at Chelsea, you know. But there you go. That's Mr. Potter, a magical choice. Coming up next, this one I think might cause controversy as well. Mark Robbins, ex-player, 54. I didn't think he was that old, to be honest with you, but he's at Coventry now, so we would have to buy him out. He's 8-1 on to come. Now, I've given him 2 ticks. I like this guy. I liked him when he was a player. I think he's done well at Coventry. And what I like about Coventry is, I mean, his manager's jobs have been Rotherham, Barnsley, Coventry twice, Huddersfield and Scunthorpe. What I like about him, he's been at one club since 2017. And let's be honest with you, Coventry have been through the role, haven't they? Mm-hmm. You know, going out of business or nearly going out of business, being taken over, not having their own ground, having to ground share. You know, it's coming to Leicester would be like a holiday for him, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you know, I don't know whether he'd be the manager to take us on to bigger things. I think, you know, I honestly think that whoever we take on, it's the manager after this next manager that could possibly take us up onto bigger things. He's played 300. Well, not played. Sorry, he's managed 370 games for Coventry from March 2017 to now. So that's what, for 7 years, isn't it? 148 wins, 103 draws, 119, 40% win rate. Overall, for all his clubs, it's 38 and 38.7%. But again, they you know, look what he did to us in the second game of the season, and he reminded me a bit. You know, I don't know if you saw the FA Cup semi-final.
Yes, yeah.
They were dead and buried. And I was sat here with a smile on my face thinking, well, I don't particularly like Man United, but I like them more than Coventry. I finished watching that game and I thought, well played, Coventry. Mm-hmm. It reminded me of Martin O'Neill's side when he was at Leicester. Didn't give up. And he's taken that club from the depths. You know, you look at what Eddie Howe did at Bournemouth, and that was an amazing job. Mark Robbins, for me, I think he's done just as good a job at Coventry. And I've given him 2 ticks. Maybe I was a bit unfair there. Maybe I should have maybe even given him 3. I think it's only because of Moyes' Premier League experience that I've given him the extra tick. Could he keep us up? Yes, I think he could. You'll obviously discuss his style of play in a second, but he'll get the respect of the players because of what I think he's done at Coventry. He's obviously got the experience in England. He's got the experience of the lower leagues. If it doesn't work out, he'll be given the time again. I think he could. We're looking at 17th. Could he keep us up to 17th? Yes, he could. And who knows what he might develop into, you know, after that. I would be more than happy. And I know we've lost a lot of viewers since I put this guy up, but I would be more than happy if Mark Robbins was our next manager.
Yeah, maybe people have gone for dinner, Chris. That's all. I don't think it's Mark Robbins.
Oh no, it's gone back up again. They've come back. They've realised I've stopped talking about him, and they've come back in.
I mean, I know it's stupid to say you feel sorry for someone, but he's never had a crack at a decent size club, I would say, Mark Robbins, but he's been solid virtually everywhere he's gone. I like him. I really like him. He comes across really well. He's a little old school, but with forward-thinking philosophies. I think he likes to get the ball forward in a structured way. He's not a long ball kind of guy, but he does like to attack. You know, the best players they've had have been, you know, forward players. Yeah. Gyökeres last season was fantastic for them. You know, he plucked him virtually out of nowhere, and now he's gone on to Sporting in Portugal and absolutely smashed it there. But Mark Robbins turned him into that striker last season. Yeah, I wouldn't be averse. I'd be very surprised if he got it, to be honest.
Yes.
And I would like to see him get a crack with a decent club at some point in his career. You know, he's not getting younger. He's you know, he's a little bit older than both of us, Chris?
Yeah, we wish.
We wish. But
We wish.
no, I like him, and I really like his down to earth nature. He doesn't really get overly excited or really down, but you can tell that his players play for him, and that can take you a long way when you're in the trenches, I think. So, yeah, so I'm going to give him 1.5 ticks.
Whoa, 1.5. That's generous for you.
It is, yeah.
Like I say, you know, with Martin O'Neill, those players would have run through barbed wire for him.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with those Coventry players for Mark Robbins. I think he, like you say, he's not going to jump up and down and go silly. And I think looking at him in that FA Cup, you know, when they were getting back into the game, probably the last thing he wanted was a manager jumping up and down because he hadn't won it, you know. And who knows? They were a toenail off winning it, weren't they? They were a toenail off winning it. Okay, let's just have a look who is next. We've only got a couple to go, and then we're down to the also rans. I don't know why this guy's being hailed so much. I've given him a cross. A lot of people are shouting for this guy. 10-1 his odds. 39, so he's younger than quite a few of them. He was at Hull, fell out with the owner. Again, that makes me wonder, you know, when the owner says, look, this is the way I want us to do things, it's his club. He's the one that's pumping the money in. He's got every right, you know. I know that the fans didn't like it with Tan when he changed the colour of the shirts, but it was his club. He was putting the money in. All right. If our owners were to ever do anything like that, they'd probably have a poll online or something, you know, to gauge the feelings. But he's walked away. Again, they just missed out on the playoffs last year, didn't they? If my memory serves me right. What has he done? What has he done apart from that? And that's the thing, you know. He was interim manager at Derby County 2022. And since then, he has been at Hull. He had a good playing career. He's played for England, but as a manager at Derby, as an interim manager, 12 games, but he won 7 of those. So, you know, fair play to him, 58%. At Hull, November 22 to May 24, 78 games played, 27 won, 28 drawn, 23 lost, 34.5% win rate. For me, I just don't see the fuss over this guy and how he got to be in the. Well, we know how he got to be in the Premier League's Manager of the Season award because they had to leave Enzo out.
Did
I say that out loud?
I like him, to be honest. I think he's got potential to be a very good manager, not with us. I think he needs to go and do it again at a similar club in the Championship. And I'm surprised he wasn't in the running for Plymouth. You know, obviously they've you know, I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was about the law of the land of pasties and Rooney. I don't know.
What are you hinting at there, Craig?
Nothing. I don't even think it was a hint. But I do like Rossini. I like the way he plays his football. I think he speaks very well. And I think there is definitely potential there, but he's not ready for the task that awaits at Leicester City. And as I say, another similar sized club to Hull City. And if he can do it again and get them up and around the playoffs, then he may get a chance somewhere else. But I think he needs to do a little more than he's done so far. If Mark Robbins hasn't got a chance yet at a bigger club, then I don't think Rossini is ready for it at the minute. And so, you know, I don't want to give him a cross and I can't give him a blank, so I'll give him half a tick.
Half a tick. Fair enough. Like you say, a lot of these managers that were all saying 1 tick or even a cross 2, you know, who knows in the future?
Yeah.
Who knows? That's the thing. Now, this last one, you'll be pleased to know, I've absolutely no idea what this guy is. Even on the list, 16-1, and I said there's a clump of managers that are 16-1. I've got absolutely nothing to say about this guy. Yes, he's all right. He's doing it at Reims. Apparently, he was very good on the PlayStation, on FIFA or something. I don't know if that's true. He's age 31. Absolutely avoid him with a. I mean, I've given him 2 crosses, which is the most I've given anybody, along with Fisher and Garcia. At Covent, that's Mark Robbins. Sorry. In fact, he hasn't even got his own. I remember now, he hasn't even got his own Wikipedia page.
I think it's ridiculous that he's even in the list, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's got nowhere near the experience required. He may well be a very good coach, but you cannot have the experience of. Thanks, John. He cannot have the experience of dealing with very, very highly paid professional footballers and the expectations that come with a club of the stature of Leicester. That's a good club for him, and if he can be successful there, fair play to him. But no, it's ridiculous that he's there on the same odds as somebody like Michael Carrick. It's I find it very strange, and I'm going to join you in a 2 crosses.
Oh, well, we've agreed again, and I think that brothel comment wasn't aimed at you. I think it was for Wayne Rooney. I don't think he was having a go at you at all there. Right, we're back to the also rans, and I could have put any of these on, but I know. I mean, we've been here. It's a long show anyway. There's a lot of people to get through, but these are the ones. These are all. I say there's a bunch of people. I said that are on 16-1, and here's the bunch that are left on that. And for me, these are all no's. I've not even bothered whether it's 1 star or 2 star. Just no. David Wagner, not for me. Frank Lampard, avoid. Pochettino, he ain't good, and I've spelled that wrong as well because there's an N at the end there. But Pochettino, he ain't gonna come. Let's get real. The only way he would come is if he wants to have a go back at Chelsea and think I'd love to go to Leicester and eventually get them above Chelsea, but he ain't gonna come. Scott Parker. I mean, bin man, as Bournemouth call him.
Again, as I alluded to right at the start of the programme, I would love Pochettino. I would absolutely love it. And they should at least go and ask the question, present the project, get him down to see what the training ground's like, what the setup is behind it. I'd love one of these managers one day to just say, you know what, I really did like what I saw. And this constant stress of going into highly paid, big, high-profile jobs, and the expectation that comes with it. And I'm here for a year, and then I'm somewhere else for a year, and I'm somewhere else for a year, and I'm moving my family around, or I'm not having my family with them, or whatever. There's got to be some managers who would actually look at what Leicester can offer and think, you know what? This is a place for me to put down my roots for 3 or 4 seasons and actually prove my worth and get much more satisfaction of building something than just coming into someone else's team, which is what they all do. They move around and they're already, those players are there. And you cannot sculpt your own club in 1.5 seasons at any of these big 6 clubs because you cannot shift all the players that are already there. So if you've got anything about you, for me, I think we are a very, very attractive proposition. Take away the points deduction, that does make it slightly different. But everything else that is at this club should be a very, very attractive proposition for somebody who wants to come in and really prove themselves as a manager. So for me, you pick up the phone and you explain that to him, and you get him down, and you get him to have a look. And if he doesn't want to know, fair enough. But don't consider and think that we're not a good, an attractive proposition.
Could we, do you think, afford him? Do you think PSR would be?
I don't care. We're getting 10 million for Maresca.
Yeah.
How much more is he going to cost?
Yeah.
I don't know what he's on.
Yeah.
You know, managers are not paid as much as players. We know that. The fact that you've got a release clause of only 10 million, but somebody like, you know, some of our players, not great players, have probably got 2, 3, 4 times the amount of that as a clause to release them from the contract. But the manager's the most important of all of them. So I think we could afford him if we wanted him.
And you know, we did with Brendan, didn't we? And you know, he was at Southampton as well.
Exactly. You know, he knows this type of club, and I bet he felt less pressure there than he did, you know, any of the other jobs that he's been at. Yeah. And you can enjoy your football. You know, again, as I said before, do you want that? Some people thrive on it. Maybe these managers do. They thrive on that pressure because of their egos. But maybe, just maybe, someone says, you know what, this is perfect for me at this stage. I could do with a little bit out of the spotlight.
Let's be honest. And talking about Brendan came to us to rebuild his career.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in the UK. So that's all that Poch would be doing. I mean, 32% win rate at Espanyol, 38 at Southampton, 54 at Tottenham. And let's not forget, nobody's done anything at Tottenham. So the fact that he's not won anything isn't a surprise because nobody else has done. But he did get them to a Champions League final. All right, he's then gone to Paris Saint-Germain. So the argument about, well, you know, he's reached those heights now. And obviously Chelsea, 51 games he had. 26, you know, again, well, 50% win rate. So overall, 48. The only reason I put him as a cross here is because I just don't think he'd come. You know, but I'd love it if he did. As Kevin Keegan said, love it. Absolutely love it. Right. Okay. Well, we've got finally coming to the end. We've got your selection now. And there's a few on here. So this case, I haven't really had a chance to, obviously I know some of these, but I'll let you talk through these. And there we go. This is your list.
Yeah. They're all my list apart from the one at the bottom. Let's just make that very, very clear, Chris.
No.
Yeah.
Did you or did you not message me? In fact, guys, what I'll do is I'm going to tell you what he messaged me. Where are we? Can't believe you've not thrown Southgate into the mix. So I have done.
And the key word in all of that, maybe I should have underlined it or put it in capitals, is the word "you." I can't believe that you didn't.
Well, look, he was on your list, though.
He's not on my list. Anyway, I'm being
facetious.
I'm going to run through these fairly quickly because there's a couple more that I would throw into the mix for people to go and have a look at, you know, beyond this.
Yeah.
If just as I've talked about Pochettino, this guy at the top of this list should be the manager that everybody wants. His name was thrown around, you know, quite early on with Chelsea. I think Man United are supposed to be talking to him. He's currently the boss of Sporting. He's just won the league at Sporting. He's had a bit of a meteoric rise, I think. But he plays exactly the way that Maresca plays. Exactly. It's 4-3-3 with an introverted fullback moving into midfield. You could drop him in and nothing would change other than the fact that you've got a winner, somebody who's actually won something. And as I say, I'll drop him in the same bracket as you never know. You know, we may be the perfect one for him to come and prove himself, because there will be other the top clubs who may be a little bit risk averse as to bringing anybody in. But I think this guy is a star in the making, and it would be amazing if we got him. I can't see it happening in any way, but he's a 3-star. He's a 3-tick all the way.
I've got to say, I'm just looking at him very quickly here. his managerial record. Casapia, 4 games, 75% win record. Braga B, and we all know Braga A, but Braga B, 11 games, 72% win rate. Braga A, 13 games at 76.9% win rate. Sporting, as you say, 223 games, 70.8% win rate. Overall, his total win percentage as a manager, it's all been in Portugal, I grant you, but 71.6%, the highest of anybody. Like you say, I think as well, no disrespect to the Portuguese league, it would be a step up for him to come to the Premier League, even to a club like Leicester.
It is, I think he was on the books as a player at Benfica, so he spent all of his time in Portugal. He could very well be the next Mourinho, I guess. But as I say, I think he'll end up going to a bigger club than us. And it may be in Spain somewhere as his next move. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't pick up the phone and ask the question and show him around the place. I had very little chance of us getting him because I think his stock is so high after what he's done at Sporting. He took Gyökeres from Coventry, and I think Gyökeres has banged in like 40 goals this season. It's something ridiculous. But plays, as I say, plays exactly the same formation as Maresca does, and with one of his fullbacks dropping into midfield. Would be the dream appointment, but dreams rarely come true.
They do, and obviously the again, big tick against him for coming to us. Not that I still want him, but coming to us is obviously he's got Champions League.
Exactly. It's unlikely, as I say. Just touching on those other two there, the others are wild cards, I would say.
Well, I'm just looking at Ocean Roberts. Talk me through that one, please, because I never heard of him until you.
Yeah, because he's. Cesc Fabregas is at Como, so these work as a pair. They've just won promotion. Obviously, Jamie Vardy was over there, so maybe he's been tapping him up. Jamie Vardy was over there, wasn't he?
Yes, he was actually,
at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So they work as a pair. Ocean Roberts is a Welsh guy who's worked his way up basically through the Welsh FA, and has worked with some decent levels in some younger players. Cesc Fabregas doesn't have his UEFA A coaching badge, so he couldn't be the manager. So He brought this guy in. So they're basically joint managers, proving themselves at the minute, proving themselves fairly successfully. Again, a left field appointment it would be, but Cesc Fabregas, I think, has got everything about him to be a successful manager. We think that about some of the British players, don't we? We already mentioned the likes of Gerrard and Lampard, and they've not made it. But could be left field. Ruud van Nistelrooy, another interesting one. Did pretty well in his club. I think it was Eindhoven that he was at. One of the others.
I'll have a look.
He left. He walked away because he didn't feel he was getting the support that he wanted at the club. But again, vast experience as a player, fairly successful. I think, I don't think he'd pulled up loads of trees, but I think he was doing pretty well in his fledgling career.
PSV, I think he was at.
Yeah. And I think he was doing pretty well there and was highly thought of, but he walked away rather than getting pushed because he didn't get the support to go on.
64% win rate there over 51 games.
Another left field one, but these are people who are not really being mentioned. The only others I'll throw in before we can all go.
Before you do that, let me just say with Ruud van Nistelrooy, he's the sort of manager that if you brought in, he would attract players, wouldn't he?
Exactly. And I think Fabregas would be the same. I think these people would. The only other ones I've got here, and I'll end it on a weird one. Michel, who is the manager at Girona, who had a fantastic start to the season. They fell away a little bit towards the end because of their squad depth, but they were bloodying the nose of the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona for a long time this season. And the other one, again, the guy who won the league at in Holland, PSV Eindhoven, a guy called Peter Boes. Vast experience around Europe, particularly in the Dutch league. Plays 4-3-3, very attacking philosophy, a little bit older, but has done very well there. And I'll leave you with this last one. If we were to go and pluck a coach out from somewhere, like we did with Maresca, who's to say that we wouldn't do it again and go back to Man City and pull out Carlos Vicens, who is Pep's second in command this season, who was the Manchester City under-18 manager before Pep gave him the assistant role to replace Maresca. Now, Maresca was the manager of the under-23s, I think, before he got his move up. This guy has a better points game than Maresca did at Man City for his own age group before Pep pulled him aside and said, right, come and have a go. So who knows? Maybe we'll follow that path again and go and get a coach and give them a shot. But I doubt it. Out of all of them, out of everything we've said tonight, for me, pick up the phone and see what Poch and the guy from Sporting are doing. They're hammering.
Yeah, but if you had to pick, just go for one. Looking at your marks here, Potter is your highest.
Yeah,
rating.
Reluctantly, out of all of them, it would probably be Potter.
Yeah,
but
well,
it would be reluctant. Yeah,
I'm gonna say completely unpopular because my number one was Moyes and my number two was Robbins, and I'll probably get a stick for both of those for different reasons. Craig, great show. Interesting, very, very interesting chat. Look, I've taken up a lot of your time, so I will let you go. But do just give a quick shout out to where people can follow you.
Yeah, just come and find me on Twitter, X, at Craig Bird. You can find me there. Come and see if I can upset you like I upset the West Brom fan earlier today.
Well, I've been upsetting Leeds fans all week, so it's your turn. Craig, thank you very much, young man. We'll have a talk later in the week about obviously what we were talking about with the shows. Really appreciate this. And Yvonne's just come on there and said, thank you. It's been interesting to listen to the comments and reading comments. You're welcome, Yvonne. Thank you very much. And Nate says, great show. Will be interesting to see what happens. It could well be somebody totally left field. And we could be completely like, what the hell have we got here?
Yeah.
12, Nigel Pearson.
Andy King. I'm surprised Andy King wasn't on there.
I think we've covered everybody that's actually on the list, if I'm honest with you. But thank you very much, mate. Go and get some food, and I will speak to you later in the week.
Cheers, Chris. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So there we go. Right, let me there we go. Let me just do that. I think Craig's still in the background, mate. I think you're going to get a sunburn off that light. You were very, very bright, yes. But no, great knowledge there of Craig. I look, whenever I do all these shows, and I say this about everybody I come to, well, maybe not Dave, but certainly Craig, Brad, and Kate, who's on BBC London tonight, I think she was. I'm just a fan. I know very little about what I'm talking about, as you probably worked out, and I do rely on those guys and thank them all very, very much for last season and say Craig for tonight as well. I'm back tomorrow with an interesting show because we are going to be rating the top 23 because there are 23 away grounds in the division. Now, Alan, you may know, Alan Bennett, he does our man of the match for all the games because he's got a season ticket holder. He goes to home and away, and he rates the match and gives me rates the team and gives me a man of the match for every game. Thing is, he has been to every ground this season. I've added some meat to the bones, as in sort of the cost of food when you get there, how many tickets you get allocated, but that is... he has obviously rated them from 23 up to number 1. So it's his rating. We are rating all 23 away grounds this season. It's interesting. 7 o'clock tomorrow. Might be a little bit later because I have got to nip out, but around 7 o'clock tomorrow. That should be a very, very, very interesting show. You might be surprised who number one is. I think you will be. Look, thanks everybody for listening. If you've been listening via your favourite podcast platform, really do appreciate it. Thanks to everybody that's been in. Thanks to the mods. Thanks for all your comments and what have you. Look, it's all about opinions, this game of football that we love. A lot of us talk balls, but then that again is the game. But thank you so very, very much for the gentleman that I had to throw out. Look, if you're going to come on and have a go, you're going to get chucked out. It's as simple as that. But I will see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Stay safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't enjoy. And I will see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You'd better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.